Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We still seem to be getting some weird audio coming through. Okay. Right, folks. Good afternoon and welcome back to another Firestorm Studios live stream. My name is Pat, and we're going to be continuing with our A to Z of sculpting creatures inside of Zbrush. It's really good to have you all here. I hope everyone is having a great start to their week and that you're surviving the heat if you happen to be somewhere that is particularly hot or hotter than it should be, which, as I'm sure you've heard from a lot of people in the UK, is pretty much the entire of the UK right now. So yes. So as always, folks, please do feel free to reach out in the chat, say hi, let me know how you're getting on. And otherwise, we're just going to get stuck straight in to what it is we're working on today, which is going to be a Ural owl. So this is the letter U. And there was a little bit of, I'll be honest, I went back and forth on several different creatures for the letter U. Unfortunately, a lot of them kind of crossed over with creatures we've already kind of done. So I didn't want to do something that's similar. So trying to find something a bit different was a bit challenging. Now, we are at that part of the end of the alphabet where finding creatures that are interesting to make or ones that people want to see is becoming a bit more of a challenge. So hopefully in the upcoming kind of days, we can showcase some kind of cool animals that you've maybe never seen before, and hopefully try and successfully sculpt them. Now, I apologize as well, folks. Obviously, my window is open in my office today, and if that's just for letting in a little bit of fresh air, hopefully there's no noises from outside that pick up on the microphone. But if they do, please do let me know, and I'll do what I can to make any amendments. So, with that in mind, folks, we have about 50 people on the stream, and they're probably thinking, right, Pat, shut up and just get sculpting. And that's what we're going to do. So, we can see here on my screen, we have our little reference here of our Ural owl. And this is what we're going to be kind of creating. I'm not sure yet how much we're going to get sculpted today. I think I might just try and focus on, as always, just try and maybe focus on the head. But it depends. If we go for something that's a little bit more detailed, then we'll go for the head. But if we're going for more of a study, then we can maybe do the whole body. And when you're sculpting something like a feathered creature or even a furry creature, but feathers are, I would say this kind of lends itself more towards feathers, is you want to focus really, really strongly on the larger forms that those feather clumps make rather than the individual feathers themselves. If you start off too early and try to make those individual feathers and sculpt all of them, which you can do, nothing wrong with it, you may end up just slowing yourself down. Okay, try to get the overall form in first whenever you're doing something like this, and it should make it a little bit easier. So, how do I want to start this? Let me see. Let's start with, we're going to use primitives. We're going to use primitives today. We'll use primitives. And again, we're just focusing on trying to create something. That's all we want to do. We don't want to make it perfect. We just want to start making something. So I'm going to start off by making a hue sphere, subdividing once, and deleting the lower subdivs. Just checking if chat's coming through. That's okay. Let me just double check. I'm just going to open up the YouTube, folks, just to make sure that we are streaming over on YouTube as well. We did have some technical issues last week with my stream, so it is just something. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, it's all good. All good, all good. All right. All right, all right, all right. Let's now get the creature's head roughly in position. I do have other reference on my other monitor as always, just to balance out the image on screen. And the image on screen, again, as is most of the images I use, is from Pixabay, which is a really great place if you're looking for royalty-free images to use as reference and actually be able to have them on your live stream as well. Okay. So let's get this round to the right angle. And we are just going to Control, click and drag to scale out our creature. And again, here we go, folks. I am literally just blocking this out in a way, just looking at the reference here. I'm visualizing, if this makes any sense. Let me see. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to open up Epic Pen and I'm going to draw over on my reference. I'm going to show you how I'm visualizing what I'm blocking out to see if that's of any use to everyone. Now, you might not be able to see my Epic Pen. That's a good point. Bear with me, folks. See here. No. Okay. This isn't going to work, I'm afraid, folks, because Epic Pen isn't going to show up for you. I'm going to have to close out of that. Okay. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. But what I'm doing here, folks, is I'm visualizing each rough shape here. So where the larger clump of feathers there is at the bottom of the leg, and each leg, you can just see the claws sticking out at the bottom there. Let's grab the magnifying glass to show you what I mean. So I'm just visualizing that whole leg section as one sphere. The same for the overall torso part and the head as well. We're just blocking that out as we go, and then control over the next part. We're going to have to add in a Z-sphere. Got to get a Z-sphere in there somehow, haven't I? I can't do a ZBrush live stream without a Z-sphere. And I'm going to use this as the log. And it's quite unusual that I try to kind of follow the reference image perfectly. We're not going to do it perfectly. I'm just trying to give us something to work with here. But yeah, it would seem weird if we didn't have a Z-sphere in here of some description. Probably won't use the whole section here. I'm just doing it as more of a way of framing the model. There we go. Jump into the dynamic perspective, and this looks really weird. It was really funny. I was actually talking to a friend recently, my friend Tom, about the fact that, your model is always going to look really rubbish at the beginning, and that is something that you must get more comfortable with. If you're going to, particularly if you're going to do live streaming, you have to get used to your model looking a little bit questionable on the stream. I'm going to do an auto groups here. Grab the body section, hold down Control, click and drag. Sorry, invert that. Click, drag. That's going to duplicate it. Then I can pull it down, and we can flatten it out. And that's going to behave like our tail. Just bring that down like so. There we go. And again, I think what we'll do is we'll lean towards a study here more than anything. We'll do an auto groups again. And what I do need to do here is I need to change the overall width or depth, if you will, of the body. I'm just going to mask that out. Go into my gizmo and bring that down like so. We'll grab the head. I could have done the head at the same time, but I want to do it separately. There we go. And again, if I wanted to, I could rotate it like so. And we could sculpt him in situ, actually, in his pose, but I don't think we're going to do that. We can quite easily pose him if we have to. All right. Let me see here. Okay. It's been a while since I did this. Thank you very much, Stan. Good to have you here. Thank you for coming in. Apologies, folks. You will see me reach for water quite frequently. It is getting fairly toasty already in the office. So the next thing I'm going to do here with this body section is we're going to just narrow it down again. We're going to just bring it down like so, and then we'll duplicate one more time, or two more times really, because we're going to make the wings. I'm going to move, sorry folks, just move my chat window. There we go. That's better. Let's do that for the chat. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now, while this is selected, I'm going to go into my split unmasked points so that it separates the wing. And then that's going to allow me to now make a few more adjustments to it just to kind of curve it round. So we're going to go into the gizmo here. We're going to go into bend curve. And I'm going to use the white cone to add, not white, is it the white cone? No, that's the smoothness, it's the curve, it's the orange cone at the top. I'm going to increase the amount of bend options here. That's going to allow me to just bend that round, give myself a bit of shape. I can also go in here and choose taper. Just going to taper down the wing. Back to bend curve. Make any adjustments. And the best way to visualize this is if you've done any kind of physical modeling, like modeling clay, plasticine, you know, super sculpting, think about how you would do that. What's the simplest shape you can take, which is probably a ball of clay. You roll it up, you reshape it, and then you apply it to a model. This is why you see so many artists blocking out their models in a very basic form, because it is the simplest way to do it to get something started. Like that meme says, just start. Doesn't have to, just make it exist. I'm not a massive fan of it myself, that meme, but the message is good. So we'll hit accept. And now I'm just going to mirror this across. And there's several ways you can mirror things in ZBrush, depending on where you have positioned your model. Now, if I take this one and I go to mirror and weld, because my model is exactly in the center of my ZBrush canvas, it's going to mirror and weld that across. Okay, but if you're ever in a situation where it's not, you can go up to Z plugin, subtool master, and then choose mirror. And then you're able to mirror it into one subtool or as a separate one. Okay, so merge into one. Okay, it's going to do the same thing. All right. But your mirror with the subtool master is going to work on a subtool level rather than the world space of ZBrush. Okay. Now, I might cheat with his feet, or we might actually just pull them in from the dodo. In fact, you know what? We're going to do that. So what I'll do here, folks, is I'm just going to, let's do some housekeeping. You know how we like to housekeep. So we're going to create a cube. We're going to step that up to the top. And I'm going to bring it down and just hide it inside the tree, like that. And we're going to call this body. then wings, and then tree. Okay, and then we'll do a save. Now I'm going to switch into a new subtool, or a blank one, clear off my canvas, and I'm going to go to Load Tool. I'm going to go into my A to Z of Zbrush project directory. I'm going to open up the dodo. So for anyone who is new to this series, the whole point of this is that we're going through the alphabet, we're picking a creature that begins with that letter, and then we're sculpting it completely cold live on the stream. Okay. And that's just kind of the challenge, if you will. It's like, here's a picture, here's a few pictures. Can you sculpt this? Can you figure it out in a short space of time? It's a really good challenge, and it's something I would suggest a lot of people do. You don't have to do them really quickly, but I would recommend you just pick something you've never made before and just sculpt it. It doesn't have to be great, it doesn't have to be perfect, but sculpt it anyway, okay? And enjoy that kind of process. So I haven't opened up the dodo in a long time, but this is the dodo that we did. You can see it's looking quite rough. In fact, I'm not a huge fan of the feet. I don't know if I like them. So I'm going to go and load in something else. What other creatures do we have that might have good feet for our owl? I'm thinking probably the penguin again. Or maybe the Quetzalcoatlus. Let's open up Quetzalcoatlus. Let's do that. Let's see. That's a more recent one. So we'll open up Quetzal, or Quitzy, as I call it. There we go. Nope, those feet aren't going to do. Okay, so those feet won't work. We're going to go to our penguin. As always, as in life, as in CG, penguins are the answer to everything. And unfortunately, I just realized I'm not recording the stream, so I'm really sorry, Mario. I'll record it now. So yes, penguins are the savior to everything. And there we go. So we will take our penguin and we're going to grab his foot. We're going to take his feet and we're going to just go over to our owl end and drop them in. And when we take this into consideration, now we can just move them down. And what I will do is I'll delete one of them and then just mirror it across. I'm going to do a delete higher, delete hidden, and then I can position one of these. We can mirror it across. And when I'm doing studies like this, and this is how I would approach it, I would steal models and hit bash things as I needed it. Okay, so it's why when I've always recommended that if you are going to be, if you are a modeler, if you're a sculptor, when you make something, copy it into a separate folder. If you make anything that you go, oh, I could reuse that, or it might come in useful. So if you make a basic human foot or a basic base mesh, or in this instance, the basic foot of a bird, well, let's save that out and we can reuse it later on for other projects to speed up our workflow. So, because yeah, even though we're not going to use the foot exactly as it is, it gives us a starting point, okay? It gives us a starting point. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit by going to my select lasso and just do something like that. Delete hidden, close holes, and then just use the move brush to clean this up a little bit. There we go. No fuss, no muss. That just gives us slightly longer talons that we can then work with. Okay, so what I will do with that is I'm going to do a mirror and weld. I've got everything I need. And I think now I'll do a little bit of work with the tree. I'm just going to tap A with the tree selected. It's taking a surprising amount of time to do that. Strange. I am experiencing a few technical issues, folks. I recently had to do a clean Windows install on my machine because there was a Windows update that broke my Maya license. So thank you very much, Microsoft, for continuing to ruin the operating system. So what I'm going to do here is, with my adaptive skin selected, I'm going to move the Dynamesh down to 0 and hit Make Adaptive Skin. And then I'll just go back in and append it. We've got our tree. And I'll probably just get rid of the Dynamesh. Not the Dynamesh, sorry, the C-Sphere version. And we'll just call that tree. There we go. And with this now turned into actual real geometry, we can just start to manipulate it a little bit. I think what I probably will do is just cut this. Really distracting. There we go. And you know what, actually, folks, I'm going to cut this off as well. I don't like the trunk bit. There we go. There. We'll just reshape the tree a bit. Maybe pull this down so that if I wanted to, say, print it, I could make it into like a little wall hanger or something like that. Maybe do something like that. I'm going to take my trim dynamic now and just trim off some of these edges. There we go. Being very, very liberal, I suppose you could say, with how I'm approaching this. Sketching. And that's the thing, folks. This is honestly, this is what I love to do. I don't need it to be a full photorealistic looking creature. I just enjoy the process of sculpting. And you'll notice as well, I'm actually trying to use standard ZBrush brushes as well, instead of some of the custom ones that I sometimes use. I've also lost my pressure sensitivity, so bear with me, folks. Hold on. Let's bring this. Funnily enough, since I opened up Epic Pen, I lost my pressure sensitivity. So let me just close that down. Let's get rid of that. Exit. There we go. That's better. So all I'm doing now is giving myself a very basic tree branch, just using clay tubes, and again being quite liberal with how I'm applying the strokes. And we will try and sculpt this little, paint this little guy as well. In fact, we might be able to hide a few of our crimes with painting it. I'm also going to show you a quick little trick with one of the brushes that you can find in the ZBrush archives. It's a brush that ships with ZBrush, just to give you a way to create some kind of broken parts and some more randomness. Okay, so I've roughly blocked out the bark here. And then what I'm now going to do is just go in the opposite direction with a slightly less intense brush. And being a bit more thoughtful about how I put the strokes down now. And this is just to kind of create that ringed effect on the branch, okay, for where the bark is. And it's amazingly effective if you're just doing a study. Because one of the things is you don't want the base to distract too much from your model. So we don't want to spend a lot of time on it. There we go. Then if I go into the light box here, we're going to go into brushes, and I'm going to find the trim brushes, which live here, and I'm going to look for trim smooth border. Double click on that. And now, the cool thing about trim smooth border is that if I take a spray stroke to it, gently run it over the model, and then if I switch it over to a dot stroke, make it a bit smaller, as you work onto the mesh, the trim smooth border isn't going to pick up, not going to smooth it completely, it's only going to pick up certain angles of your mesh. So you can create a very randomized, broken effect with it. It's good for doing trees and rocks and other kind of hard surface organic stuff. So let's just lock that out like so. Then I'll take the standard trim dynamic just to break off a bit more of the edge here. There we go. And then the final thing that you can do for blocking this out, I'm just going to clean that up a bit. There we go. Take the damn standard. And just knock out a few shapes. And remember, like I've said many times before, folks, if you're taking away, you've got to add just a little bit on the top as well. Okay? So if I start taking away from a section here, I want to take it, like add just a little bit over the top as well of the stroke. As I carve in, I'm taking the alt brush and just adding a bit more on top, like so, and then taking the trim dynamic, just cleaning that away to take away any artificialness of it, like so. Okay. And then what I'm actually going to do as well, I'm going to change my material type. And I'm actually going to go into projects, and I want to kind of showcase some free matte caps that are currently available by the artist Vidar Rap. You go into, if you go to his ArtStation, I think in his Gumroad as well, he has all of these here available for free. And there's some really nice sculpting materials. And that's what we're going to use today. Now let's jump in and start dynameshing together our owl. So we will just do dynamesh. Take the subprojection down to 0, the blur down to 0, and we're going to change our resolution to 64 and hit dynamesh. That should be enough. Should that be enough? I think that'll be enough. Okay. And I'll do the same with the wings. I'm going to leave the wings separated for the time being. I think if I'm being totally honest, I don't know why. It's just how I feel. I just feel like not combining the wings together at the moment. So smooth this out, and then you can start reshaping the face. Okay, so let's just do something like this. We might even have a little bit too much in regards to how much geometry we're actually working with. I maybe could have taken it a little bit lower, but again, I think I have made an owl before, but a very long time ago. Very long time ago. I would have considered myself still, you know, quite heavily a junior. And I hadn't started working in the VFX industry. I was a freelancer at this point, I think, when the last time I made an owl. So let's jump over to the clay tubes brush and start to kind of indicate, just increase that intensity a bit. Start indicating where some of the forms are going to go. And again, folks, we're just trying a totally different approach now. Just wanted to show everyone another potential way of sculpting out their characters. Because again, what works for some will not work for you, and vice versa. So if someone uses a certain technique that you go, oh, I don't understand why you're using that, don't put it down. Learn about it. See if it works for your workflow. If not, then you just don't use it. Just don't use it. You take the damn standard now and start sketching out where the face is going to go. So go back to the clay tubes, and when you're doing these kind of creatures, whether it's fur or feathers, pay very close attention to the way that the hair actually lies and the way that it's growing. Don't just kind of go in and go, right, I'm going to do something like this, right? It might sometimes look like that when someone is sculpting, but if someone has a lot of experience, they are probably doing it for a reason. And it might look like we're sketching or scribbling, but we're not. We are genuinely thinking about the flow of the fur or the feathers. So not actually the best one for showing you things. Let's see if this one's better. We're going to go up to macro, append eyes. That's immediately going to help us. Go back over to, again, we're using, all the brushes we're using are standard ones you will find in Zbrush. I'm not thinking about every individual feather at the moment. I'm thinking about the way the form is flowing over the head to create the shapes I want. Same way I would if I was using clay. And I haven't done clay sculpture in a long, long time. Long time. Long, long time. I'm going to use longer strokes on the back and then down towards the tail. And again, this is a study, folks. We're not going for high detail. And you want to be very selective about your detail when you do a study. So if a client had come to me and said, Pat, I need you to sculpt me an owl. We don't have very long. We've only got maybe a half day or maybe even only a couple of hours. The client needs to see something. Then this is generally the approach I take. a nice quick study. And then generally what I'll do if somebody comes to me and asks me that, I'll say, right, what's the most important thing the client wants to see? What is the key thing that they're looking for? And then if I have an answer, because sometimes you won't, sometimes they don't know, because a lot of the time a client wants you to do a study or a first pass because they're not actually sure themselves what it is they need. They have a rough idea and they might have been a concept or a description, but until you get a visual in front of them, they can't tell you anything. And that's where this first step comes from, where you have to give them something so that they can then say, right, they'll either go, that's what I wanted, or that's definitely not what I wanted. And that's where I think a lot of artists can get a little bit frustrated with when a client is making changes all the time. It's part of the creative process. Is it frustrating? Of course it is, but it's part of the creative process. And a lot of the time you will find it does serve its purpose. Okay. It does serve its purpose, right? That doesn't mean you shouldn't get frustrated about it, though. You're allowed to be frustrated over something that you go, hey, I really like this. And then someone goes, no, we don't, change it. But that's just part and parcel of it. And it's why, as well, that we say, do not become invested in the work that you do. Don't become too invested in it. Don't be too precious over it. It needs to change. It needs to change. Quick 5.0. Okay. Thank you very much for the follow. Much appreciated. These are important things to take into account. So now we're just going to do the top section here, the feathers. Again, just that initial form, keeping the flow. And then we'll do the same. And it looks to me as though we have, coming down from the middle of the chest of the bird, we've got a few that are going to start coming down like so into the middle. And then a few kind of overlapping. And then some longer ones down to the feet. We've got a bit of a gap in here as well. Let's go in and let's do a little bit of readjustment here. And I am definitely hiding a lot of crimes here, folks. Don't I don't need to do the, it's like, if I can't see it, I'm not sculpting it. So let's see here. Let's grab the clay tubes. There we go. Let me see. Yeah, it's quite challenging. Although I think what I might do here is grab the tail and maybe bring that down, flatten it out a bit. We are going to get the, there we go. And now I'm going to start shaping things a bit better. Just looking at some of the reference I've got here. A very brief smooth over, very lightly. Again, remember the strokes that we put in, they're not important. Really, they're just giving us an indication of where things need to go. I'll take the wings now and we're going to Dynamesh them. And I'm going to start working the shape of those based on the reference. Very, very hard with owls, if I'm being honest. And birds like this, or birds in general, when they have their wings closed, it can be quite hard to figure out exactly what's going on. So just take your time with it. And I forgot to put symmetry on, didn't I? Of course I did. There we go, quick mirror and weld to fix that. And okay, I see what's going on. So these wings, obviously, at the moment are far too large. We now have to push these back in. And it looks as though for the Euro owl, it holds its wings very, very far back. So that's what we're going to do. very close to its body. Yeah. Switch back over to the body and we can start to reshape it. Actually have a little bit slimmer overall than I have done here, so let's make that big change. Dynamic in here and start cleaning up some of the messy forms that I've made. Back over to the wings and get them. So what I have also noticed as well is that there is this really nice tuft of feathers just underneath the head, just on the kind of neck area, that seems to overlap where the wings go. So I am doing what I can to make sure I get that in place. Grab the trim dynamic again and just flatten out the tail feathers, much thinner than I've put in. How we doing, folks? Okay, we're 48 minutes in. Not bad, not bad. Been yapping quite a lot, so. What's new? What's new? So, well, the thing is, folks, I am not 100% sure on what the rest of the schedule is this week. I will see if I can find it. Let me see. No. Okay. I'm going to see if I can find the schedule for today for you, so that, because we're coming up on an hour, and you know what that means. If we're coming up on our hour, then we need to kind of announce a few things. All right. All right, folks. So this week, obviously we are sculpting today. And tomorrow we have nothing. No one is streaming tomorrow, but on Thursday, Paige will be back, and she's going to be doing more of her animation fixation. And then I'll be sculpting again on Friday, where we'll be moving on to the letter. What are we on at the moment? We're on U. We're moving on to the letter V. So and then on Saturday we have Andre, and he'll be doing his ZBrush and chill. So a very quiet week, but it's quiet, but it is very dense. It's fully stacked. Not sure where I was going with that, but that's what happens. See, this is the thing, which I always find quite amusing. It's that, people watching live streams must be thinking, wow, this person doesn't know how to speak. Oh, there we go. Sorry, folks, just had a bit of a display freak out there. This person doesn't know how to speak. And honestly, you'd probably be right. So now that I think I think I'm going to be brave here, folks, and we're going to merge the wings in. Or should we? I'm not sure. I'm kind of just making it up for the back because I don't have any reference of these guys from the back, but that looks okay to me. Oh, interesting. What's going on there? Let's do a mirror weld. There we go. A little bit dense, actually. Let's Z-remesh those wings. We'll just do half and half again. That's better. Something I did discover as well that with owls is that they have incredibly long legs. They've got really long legs. It's really quite funny. They just tuck them in under there, and obviously there's so many feathers in there that you just can't see anything. And that's what I'm kind of betting on for this sculpt. What we'll do as well with the tree is, let's see here, let's move that back and just fatten the tree up a bit. So folks, let me know how everyone is getting on. Everyone's very quiet today. Very quiet day. We make a quick change to the feet here. Need to find myself some new reference. Very quickly, folks, bear with me. Owl feet. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So, not that far off actually, but they definitely have longer, much longer talons than our web-footed friend. So let's just do a little adjustment here. We're going to do an auto group, and I'm going to split these out. So we're going to split this. And then that way, I'll just hide all these. There we go. And we'll do a quick Z-remesh with the foot. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, we're going to fix this dew claw type thing at the back. We don't want that. We'll just get rid of that using a bit of Sculptris Pro. Push that in, smooth it out. And we can completely change the shape of the foot too. There we go. One of the things I did want to kind of showcase today is how essentially how kind of chaotic you can make your sculpt and still get something out of it. And I wanted to kind of go there with it. Make it look really goofy. So just to show you what you're actually capable of doing with Zbrush, with another mesh that you've been using. or that another mesh that you have. We'll get rid of this here. Delete that. And we're not going to see this part anyway, but I just want to make sure that Z-remesh this. So let's try half again. That'll do. And funnily enough, it looks as though the toes are actually quite about the same length. They just don't have obviously the webbed part, and the talons themselves are much longer. And every time I work with an owl, or on an owl, or there's something to do with owls, I'm always reminded of a book that I read as a child. In fact, I have a memory of it being one of those books that you got at school, and it's The Owl That Was Afraid of the Dark, and it was about a barn owl who was, surprise, surprise, afraid of the dark. Spoiler alert. You know, if anyone else, it might just be a UK thing, I don't know, but if anyone else in the chat is or watching remembers that book, please do, shout out, let me know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to move this into the middle. I might redo the talons actually, and then I'm just going to do a quick mirror and weld. There. And the reason I did this was just so that I can have a nice symmetrical version of my mesh. Just makes things a little bit easier to manage. Then we can take these two sections here and just bring them down. Interesting. Oh, it's not the move brush, that's why. Come on. There we go. A little bit of inflate brush to just reshape them a little bit. And then we'll bring the talons back in. I'm going to take the talon, but this time we're just going to delete the ones we don't want, delete hidden, and then we'll grab this remaining one, put it into the middle, and just reshape that to match the size. They're a little bit longer and just a lot thinner, We'll take the pinch brush here and just use the pinch brush to thin out the talon. There we go. I'm going to do the same with this. I'll do a quick mirror and weld. Yeah, it's looking okay. We can work with that. Now we'll do the same trick before. Hold down Control, click, drag, and just rotate that into position. Like so. And mirror and weld. Oh, I should have done it the opposite side, my bad. what I will do then is I will take this. If you ever, oh my God, it's my favorite verb. Who's this? Mario Cruz. Good. I'm glad. It's your favorite word. We're doing an owl. So if you're ever in a position where you're trying to use the mirror and weld in ZBrush, but you've got your object on the opposite side, then just go into deformation in the tool palette and do mirror. That's going to flip everything over. And then if you do mirror and weld, your mirror and weld will now copy over to the correct side. Okay. So just need to see they do have a claw coming out the back as well. So I will do something really cheaty and go control click, rotate it round 180 degrees. And then what I will, let's move forward again, move forward. There we go. I'm going to take that and let's see, how do I want to do this? There we go. Split on mask points. That should separate it like that. Then I can take this bit and just remove the part I don't want, be hidden, and then move that into position. There we go. Click, drag, or do a control, and then we can just rotate that round again, 180 degrees, and there we have our talons. Then we'll merge this down, hit OK, and then we're going to use the gizmo here and do a remesh by union, and just accept that. And then we can take our Sculptris Pro with mirror on, and we can merge them in. And then the next thing, again, we just do another Z remesh. We'll do adaptive this time. Set the target polygon to about 2. We don't need it to be that high. And there we go. All right, what's this? Firestorm. I hate how ZBrush is too stupid to mirror X weld if model isn't on the list. Yeah, it's an odd one. It makes me think that there's a reason for it because they haven't changed it. So it makes me think that there is a reason it has to mirror across. Maybe it causes a bug if you don't do it that way. So I've seen a lot of people that have essentially done a macro that takes into account the deformation here. So it'll mirror it, and then it'll do a mirror and weld. And they've got that assigned to either a hotkey or like a custom button. So, you know, there's ways around it, I guess. Okay, let's bring back everything else. I'm going to take the feet and the claws and just merge them down, like so, and then move them. Oh no, oh, there we go. I'll have to make them a bit bigger. And what we will do now, though, is we are going to do a little bit of posing just to get these in the right place. Time are we at, folks? Let me have a look. We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's not too bad. We can do a lot in that time. And as always, folks, if you have any queries or questions about what it is that we're doing today, feel free to fire into the chat, and I will answer any questions I can. And there is a poll currently running in the Firestorm community Discord chat about what creature we're going to be doing for the letter V. Now, I gave two options. One of them was an endangered porpoise known as a vaquita, and the other is called a velvet worm. And at the moment, the velvet worm is winning considerably. So I think that's very clear what we're going to be making on Friday. Okay, let's take the tree out here, and we're going to take the legs, make sure that we have symmetry on, and just try and get those roughly into place. And then once I know that that's roughly where the legs would go, I can then cover them again with form in order to kind of create the effect that we've got here. Grab the standard brush, turn off Sculptris Pro, and I'll just start doing a little bit of extra reshaping. Okay. Grab the brush here, move brush, and we're going to make sure we have symmetry on, just move tail down. Using AccuCurve there to just give myself a finer point at the end of the for the move brush, so that I'm able to kind of create a bit of a sharper look to it, just make it a bit more wing-like. Yeah. And then speaking of being more wing-like, we're going to take the dam standard now and just start to carve in, not dam standard, just the standard brush is what I meant to say. We'll just carve that wing in the wing shape a bit more. Try to get a bit more of a correct shape there before we start adding in the volumes for the feathers. Grab the clay tubes brush here. And now let's start adding in so another pass is a bit more controlled. And I think now, no, I'm going to subdivide, and then I'm just going to start adding in some form for the wing. It's a bit of a trickier one, but I'll do my best. grab the move brush with AccuCurve and just maybe pull out a little bit of form just to kind of create a bit more shape there. Do the same for the edges here. Head shape is wrong, so that's something I need to fix immediately. We're also going to add a bit more, we're going to add some plumage here, add some thickness to the wing with the inflate brush. The tubes brush, and there we go. Just I'm going to take my damn standard and start carving out random, like try and keep it symmetrical, like try and make it symmetrical, but I'm actually just not worried if I don't match 100%. Then take the trim dynamic and flatten those back. And I'll do the same on the other side, just to take the foot and do a mirror and weld. And yes, I'm totally cheating when it comes to the log. I'm working the log around the feet rather than the other way around. Bring the back down as well. Okay. Next, I'm going to go into symmetry here, and I think what we'll do is we're going to T-pose mesh here, and we'll do, come on, symmetry, work. There we go. We're going to do some changes to the scale of the head. Let's see. That needs to be a bit further forward. So hey, Paige. Yeah, we're just doing a quick study with this one. So I don't know how much we're going to do in regards to the individual actual feathers. But we will be putting a bit of a texture on it as well. So, but thank you. Glad you like it. Again, we're just at that we're still just playing around, getting things working the way they need to. And don't worry, we are going to be changing the eyes, folks. So don't worry about that. So back to T-pose sub T. It takes courage to do feathers in Zbrush. Courage and I guess a lot of time as well. Courage and time. So clay tubes. So now I can start really laying in the symmetry back on. Okay, now it's time for the wings. We're going to take the body and the wings, and I'm going to merge them together. So we're going to do, in fact, you know what? Let's save it because we haven't saved it yet. A to Z, Ural Owl 2. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. Okay, folks, so we're at an hour and 20 minutes. I love their silly eyes that can't be rotated at all. Yeah. Owls are fascinating creatures. They really are. So, yes, folks, we're at about an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to take a quick drink because it's getting very, very warm. But do please remember that if you want to know a little bit more about Firestorm Studios and everything that goes on here, be sure to follow the socials below this video, and also be sure to follow our Discord specifically because you can join the community, and just kind of take part in a really friendly, very supportive place for new artists and also professionals as well. So please do come along. And you will also find that a lot of the live streamers, we will occasionally pop into some of the VC chats. And also remember that if you do see anything that you like here on the live streams, if there's some information that you want to know more about from anyone here at Firestorm Studios, reach out and ask about our mentorships, all right? Because majority of the team will offer a mentorship of some kind. So if you are interested and you're wanting to learn a little bit more, please make sure to reach out and get some more information, okay? So, and I lost my train of thought. There we go, right. So we've saved and I'm going to do merge down, okay. And I am then going to duplicate it. And I'm going to take this top one and we're going to do a quick Dynamesh. I want a Dynamesh that is a little bit higher. It's going to allow me to then take the model and just gently smooth some of the options here. Just bring it together a bit. And I might even take the opportunity to take something like the clay tube brush again and just clean up. Let's get our pressure sensitivity back and then just clean up some of the forms a bit. Let's just spend a little bit more time here. I'm not sculpting feathers here, folks. I'm not thinking about feathers. I'm thinking about the shape a lot of these feathers might make. Large clumps. Large clumps. We'll do a little bit more work just around the head, just refining it now that we've got a little bit more geometry to play with. And then we're going to do a little trick to smooth all this back, and then we can go back in and add a bit more detail. But I guess before we do that, we should maybe do something about the face, right? So let's fix the eyes, because the eyes got a little bit squashed when we did our... I'm going to delete this body one because it's no longer what I need. So I'm going to go up to macro, append eyes, and move them into position. And let's get them down to the right size. Let's see. Okay, that looks like a fairly straight on shot. So we'll use this as my reference. So in order for this to work, I need to obviously go in and figure out the face a bit more. So that's what we're going to do. And it looks as though we're going to have some eyelids here. So now that that's in place, I can start maybe moving the eyeball in and just scaling it down. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll go back to the model itself and we'll start refining the shape of that eyelid. All I'm doing is I'm just sculpting in a general shape for the eyelid and then grabbing the move brush when I need to. What you'll sometimes find is you have to go in here and maybe just create the socket a little bit more deeper and then build up the form on the outside of the eye, just to give you a bit more geometry to work with the eyelid, like that. And obviously we've got the beak that we need to do. So we're going to do that now, but not before I do more directional shapes for where the fur needs to go. Set the fur, the feathers. Okay, folks, we're at 1 hour 25. Time to get the beak in. I'm going to append. Yeah, we'll just do a new beak. Why not? Append, sphere. Same again, initialize it, turn it into a Q sphere. And subdivide it. Scale it down. I'm going to use my AccuCurve curve and just move that down. So use symmetry. And then I'll use my bend curve inside of the gizmo. Need to delete my subdivisions first, which is fine because we need a little bit more geometry for this. Then I can just curve that out, the beak. Subdivide it one more time. Take the standard brush and now start building up that shape. Man, I need to do a mega compilation or something once the editor is done. This is peak. Thanks, Mario. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's very kind of you. I keep forgetting to turn symmetry on. There we go. It's all right. Do mirror and weld, fix it. I'll delete it lower, mirror and weld. That's fine. What I'm hoping to do, folks, is obviously we are actually coming very close to finishing um, uh, the A to Z of creatures. I have a couple of ideas of what I want to do after this. I'm just going to quickly look for a owl beak so that I can get the overall look right. They're very tricky to find though, because they are weird. They are very weirdly shaped. I thought it was just me, but they're not. They are actually quite strangely shaped beaks. Okay, so it looks like I was actually pretty close with what I was doing. And we'll take the dam standard and we'll just do something like that. I'll be going for one last burst of productivity before the heat takes my soul. Can't wait to see the final result. Okay, Mario, take it easy. I hope that the heat doesn't completely destroy you, mate. That's rough. I mean, we're not doing too bad, folks. I mean, it's getting to 30 degrees in my office. You know what? I apologize, folks. I am going to put my air conditioner on. I apologize if you can hear it. But I think you'd rather I kept sculpting than passing out from the heat. So, I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's what you came to the stream for. Maybe it was like, yeah, let's watch Pat pass out. Okay. Okay. Back to clay tubes. And yes, now we can continue working up some more of the forms and the shapes around the beak and the mouth. I think I've made the eyes a bit big, so we're going to pull that in a bit. Maybe not, actually. No, it's very tricky. It's actually quite tricky to get the correct balance right. Then we'll take the dam standard. Dam standard. That was the standard brush. Discovering that they've got quite flat heads. However, what you're actually seeing here is a good example of why you want to use retopology in your meshes fairly frequently. Is I'm having some trouble getting exactly the shape I need because there's just too much geometry. And that's something you've got to be really aware of. I'm just going to start. There we go. That's looking better. Okay, center that eye, drop the size down a bit. Okay, that's looking better. Happier with that. And we'll just bring the eyes down a bit more. And start to roughly indicate some more of the head shape. There we go. What are we doing? Okay. Time to do a little bit of reshaping. So we're going to now take this model and we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to do a quick Z remesh. Move that to the top. I'm going to go to geometry, Z remesher, make sure I've got symmetry on. And we'll just hit, you know what, let's push it to, let's do 7 and then hit Z remesh. See what that gives us. Okay, that's not too bad. But I think I'm going to go, I think I'm going to actually go half now and then do Z remesh. That's better. Okay, so with that done, I can now just smooth out the overall underlying shape. And what we will do is we will do a little bit of a projection here. So we're going to go to Morph Target, Store, subdivide that a couple of times. And then we'll do a quick projection. So we're going to turn on just the Dynamesh and our Z remeshed version. And we'll just do a quick projection. So I'll do project. I'll take the blur down to 0, turn off color, and I'm going to take that mean to 12 and just hit project all. And that's going to take all of the detail from our Dynamesh and project it onto our nice clean Z remeshed version. Now, you might be thinking, well, why did you do that? Why did you bring over this messy stuff? Well, it's just to give me the form, because now what I can do is I can pick a subdivision and go, right, I'm happy with that one. I'm going to delete anything higher. And now I can genuinely go through and start smoothing out areas. And now we can start to finesse our character. Now I've got a little bit of a messy part at the back of the tail, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Take the inflate brush, clean it up. Smooth out all this detail at the back. And if I want to, I can actually go into deformation here and I can do resim. And that will just that'll just clean up everything, resim it, and then I can continue to smooth out the rest of the shapes. Resim and Smart Resim are similar to Mirror and Weld, but they generally only work with clean topology. They will give you some errors on your mesh, but when you're at this early stage here, that's okay, because we're going to be smoothing them out regardless. So the model is looking a bit lumpy, but that's all right. It's kind of supposed to be in many ways. I'm now going to use the subdivisions though and just start reshaping the head the way it should be. Let's just get everything turned back on. Just so I've got something to reference against. So let's just get you all back. There we go. Grab the move brush and start maybe bringing the wings together a bit more. Just going to do a bit of inflation there. Now, just because we've z-remeshed it, it doesn't mean that we can't go in and think about dynameshing it again if we need to. Okay, this is just another stage, it's just another step in the process where I'm now going to just start using some of the other brushes to clean up the shape, make it look a bit cleaner. And then we can go in with other brushes and outline some of the feathers. We don't really necessarily need to do all of them, but we want to do some of them. What I'm doing here is just a bit of a form check. Now, I'm actually going to use inflate here with a lower subdivision, lower intensity. That's going to help plump up the back here. I can smooth it back, keep going, smooth it. There we go. Do the same here. And a neat little trick that you can do is you can mask the area that you want to plump up. So I want to bring this bit at the back of the neck, kind of make it look as if though he's kind of shrugging into his shoulders a bit. I can mask out that area, like so. Clean it up, mask it, invert it, and then I can take the inflate brush and start pulling that out like so. And then if you remember what I was saying about when we use something like dam standard, if you're carving in to the surface, you take it away, you want to add a little bit back on top. The same principle can be applied to this. If we invert the mask, I can then use the inflate brush and inflate it against the rest of the model. Soften it down, and now you'll get a nice soft transition between the two. Interesting. Why? Ah, there we go. Grab the move brush. Why is the move brush not working? Oh, that's why. I accidentally snapshotted my model. So step down. Come on, Zbrush. Need to find a side shot of one of these owls. We've got very, very interesting heads. Almost barn owl-like, actually, with these. So looks like I'm kind of there. I think I might be have shaped the head a bit wrong. So we're going to pull this bit back a bit. That looks better. There we go. And create a bit more of a divot for where the beak goes. Yeah, that looks cool. And we'll take our, where are we? So I'm going to subdivide again, and I'm going to take my curve tube. What's this? Hi. Oh, sorry, folks. I've just caught up with the stream there. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can answer some questions. Prathamesh, hey, yeah, good to have you back. Thanks for coming and joining us. I hope you're doing well. PW4730. Hey, do you think that nowadays, without prior experience in a studio, but expectational skills in complete 3D apartment, you still will have a good chances? I've heard that somebody said that market is full of mediocre artists, and if you're standing out, you'll have good chances. So the landscape of the industry changes. Honestly, at the moment, it seems like it's changing all the time. I would say on average, it changes every 6 months to a year. But it's a bit hard to, it's a little bit hard to kind of see what's coming at the moment and predict really what it's going to change to. But at the moment, studios are looking for artists that can apply themselves to lots of different areas. They're looking for more generalist type artists. So it's always going to be beneficial to you to understand a lot more about the pipeline, even in small amounts. You don't have to be a specialist in every single area, but understand the full pipeline from A to Z. Okay? Right from the beginning, right all the way through. It shows that you have an interest. It shows that you're not just kind of wanting to work on one thing and that you're not much of a team player. And that's really important in larger productions. You know, being able to, you know, if someone says to you, like, oh, right, you're a modeler, but can you just texture this because one of our other texture artists is really busy, but we need to get it out the door. Being able to kind of jump into that role, even briefly, is really beneficial for studios. Without prior experience is tricky. You can, of course, be hired on if you have a really great portfolio, because that's how all of us get hired. You've got to have a really good portfolio that somebody really likes, that gets you that foot in the door to the first studio. And then from there, hopefully, you just kind of go on from strength to strength. I honestly think that if you want something badly enough and that you're willing to put in the work, the hard work that is required, I think you give yourself the best chance at anything. But you have to put in the work. You have to kind of create a portfolio, a CV, a demo reel that's really going to make you stand out. So of course, standing out is important. You have to be able to stand out because the industry is full of amazingly talented artists. Amazingly talented artists. It's never been there's never been so much competition in the industry right now. So yes, I think you do have a good chance if you have exceptional skills, of course. But I've said this for years. You can have an amazing portfolio. You can have the best connections. But if you apply to a company at the wrong time, or they maybe, and I hate to say it, but if they know somebody, so if they know someone, they're probably going to give them their job to the person they know as opposed to you. And people will say that's not a real thing. Of course, it's a real thing. That's how the industry works a lot of the time. There is an element of it's who you know. And the reason that is a thing is that the deadlines, the production pipelines are so tight and everything is moving a mile a minute that you need to be able to know that you can rely on someone. And that's an unfortunate reality of the industry. And that's why it's so important to network as much as you can so that you do get to know people. All right. So yeah, so in kind of, you know, in summary to that, PW47, if you have exceptional skills, you give yourself the best chance possible. But you have to obviously, like I say, you have to have a little bit of good timing, a little bit of luck, and a good networking in order to really push that chance even further. Okay. What's this? Doing good. Got an internship with the company. Okay. 9 hour a day working 6 days a week. Okay. The 6 days a week is a bit strange. The 9 hour working day doesn't sound too surprising to me. It's not normal. I don't think it's ideal. But you know, if you're being paid for all of those hours, that's great, because I know, on average in the industry, you'll be maybe doing a 7 or 8 working hour a day and only being paid, and that's what you're being paid for, but you're maybe doing 10 to 12. So as long as you're being paid for all that. Okay, so let's now get into the weeds a bit more with this and start detailing our little owl. So I've stepped up the subdivisions here, and I'm just going to start outlining the more obvious features of him. Then I'm going to take my clay tubes brush and change the alpha. I'm just going to test this out. It may not work. We'll see. See if it gives me the effect I want. Not really. That's kind of too fur-like, but it's not bad. Let's see if I can do something with something else here. Because I'd like to try and use some of the default alphas that are already in ZBrush. Oh, I quite like that. That's quite good. Yeah, I quite like that. That's given me quite a rough effect. But I think as well, I'm going to take alpha. What number is this? Alpha 62 here, and yeah, that works quite well. I'm not wanting to go too detailed with this, folks, so I think I might just switch back to standard clay tubes, reset the current brush, and just lower that intensity, and maybe go into the alpha a bit here and add a bit of blur, just to soften it a bit. And now I'm going to start sculpting the forms a bit more. How are we doing for time, folks? Okay, we're coming up on 2 hours. But what I'm going to do, folks, is bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to change my desk height. So give me 2 seconds. Okay, folks, we're back. I just needed to change my desk height so that I can be a little bit, focus a bit more on sculpting in some of these details. So I just want to make the eye area here a bit deeper. Just really push this in. What's this? Thank you for preparing it. No problem. My pleasure. Convert to €100, I guess, for comparison. 9 hour day working hour. Is that £100? Is that €100 a day then, or is that €100 an hour? A month, right? A month, €100 a month. Wow. Okay. No, not apologize at all. No, no apologies. I'm a little bit shocked. £100, €100 a month. Okay. Uh, that is. I'm not sure how far that goes. But I would say that is definitely on the incredibly low side. Um, Wow. Okay, yeah. That's actually I'm quite shocked at just how low that is. That's a very low amount of money for a lot of work because we all know how much work this industry requires. So right, there we go. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. But I think what I need to do actually, I need to change the eyes again. Like this is the thing. I'm struggling with getting the eyes in the right position. And that's a really tricky thing a lot of the time. Really try to get the eyes in the right position can be quite hard. So we're just going to do that. Hopefully, there we go. Bit of a shocked look on his wee face there. Why is that not? There we go. That's better. I think what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to focus. I mean, we've got the whole character in here, but we're just going to focus on the stream anyway. We'll focus on the head. Um, now that we're kind of in that position, because I don't want to rush these parts really for you, because I know that it's can be quite helpful um, to see how we build up these kind of forms. So now that I've repositioned the eyes, I'm now reassessing how I approach the form. Uh, Again, I think the head is I just don't think I've got the head size right. So let me see if I can pull this up. I remember doing this once on a live stream years ago. I was sculpting a dragon, and I didn't realize until way after that I'd completely misjudged the size of the wing. I totally screwed up the sizing of the wing, and it wasn't until afterwards that I noticed it. It was quite funny. Uh, but sometimes when you get focused in on something, it's easy to make those mistakes. That looks better, but we'll bring the eye size down again and jump back over to the clay tubes. I'm going to start to reintroduce the forms again at the back for the feathers. But we're doing larger strokes here, a little bit slower. Oh, I don't know what's happened here at the back. This is and also ZBrush has decided to stop working. This happens a lot on live streams, folks. If you've ever done a live stream before, you'll know that sometimes the software just gets. I think it gets tired. I think it gets tired. Um, So with the clay tubes brush, you can, and you can see I've blurred the alpha a bit. You can actually create some quite good short feather effects when you're doing studies like this. So that's what I'm going to stick with. And the higher the resolution that you go, the easier it is to create a more realistic effect. And if I add a little bit too much, you can just knock that back with the alt brush. And then the larger brush over the back of the head. You can see I'm taking a lot more time now to block out much larger chunks, trying to overlap where I can. And then, similar to what Paige actually mentioned, she was asking about textures. We will try and hide some of these crimes with the texturing. And by hiding the crimes, all I mean is we're going to hide the bits that we're not actually putting a lot of detail into. Or it's maybe you've made a mistake, you know. I can't remember. I think I picked this up from an old making of, like behind the scenes thing for the way they used to do practical effects. You know, they would hide the crimes, you know, hide parts of the model that weren't really working. Um, and then if I really, really want to, I could go in and I can outline some of this with the damn standard. You know, just jump between the two. And then turn off symmetry to break the repetition over the scene. And I generally will work from front to back, and then I'm going to do back to front so that I can do a proper overlap. And now obviously I'm doing everything asymmetrically just to make my life harder, basically. Just to add that, again, what you're trying to do is you want to try and sculpt symmetrically, but without symmetry on. So you're just trying to kind of sculpt the same on either side, and then you introduce your natural kind of human error, and it makes everything look that all that more believable. Grab the damn standard and just go through and carve out some of them just to kind of indicate roughly where some of the feathers might go. You don't want all of them, just a few. And it's looking a bit lumpy at the moment, but we can flatten that a little bit with the trim dynamic. Just and again, feathers take time. So, and that's not something we have a huge luxury for on these live streams. So we go as fast as we can. Recently started a similar character to a penguin after watching your penguin making streams. Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Prathamesh. I appreciate that. I'm glad it was inspirational. I like penguins. I do like penguins. So I'm going to keep. We'll grab the AccuCurve and just start pulling out. Huh. Oh, wrong one. I need the move brush with AccuCurve. That would help. And we just lower that intensity. And we can start to pull out some of the shapes. Oops. I think as well, what I might do now is I might start introducing a bit of color so I can see how far I need to take some of the sculptural detail. And that's actually not bad. It's working as best as I think it can do from far away. What I think I'd like to do though is just take a slightly different alpha over everything just to bring it, blend it together a bit more. Hey FBI, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. So all I'm now doing is I'm just trying to kind of rake and blend all those lumps together so that from far away it looks a little bit more cohesive. Okay. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of color now. So we are going to take a better material here. And I think before I do anything though, I am going to take this and just, we are working at a very low resolution at the moment, but that's okay. I'm actually okay with that because it's a study. And you can see that from far away, it looks fine. No problems at all. And what I'll do is, what I tend to do as well, folks, is if we only get to a certain stage on the stream, I'll just finish off the rest of the body using the same techniques that I did for the head on the body for the final render, just so that it looks a little bit more, a bit cleaner. So and then another smooth will also help us figure out what we're doing, because I do need to go into. I'm doing okay, FBI, thank you. For example, if you were making this for animation, what pose would you do? Oh, if you're doing a bird for a pose, then you want to do it in the same way that you would with a human. So essentially the bird equivalent of an A pose. So let me save this. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so once this saves, if we go into Lightbox here, and go into projects. We're going to go into projects and we're going to go into Zzu. So if of course, they're all Z project. That's irritating. Actually, to be fair, none of them actually have that kind of pose. Okay, so yes, so essentially what you would do with a bird is you would just have the wings straight out like this, again in an A pose. And generally, if you can, if you would try and get the creature into a more neutral pose, so essentially be leaning forward a little bit so that the head and the neck and the tail line up. So you want to make your pose for animation as easy as possible for the riggers to work with, okay? Because the rigging department, you don't want to give them any more work than they already have, because rigging a creature or a character is a lot of work. So you want to make sure that pose is in the cleanest way, the cleanest position possible. And if you are working in a studio, you ask the rigging department what they prefer. I mean, most studios will have an outline and of what they want, as in they have you know, they will have something that they stand by, as in, sorry folks, my brain is not working. They will have a standard that they work to for a pose. They'll have a certain topology, all this kind of stuff. So I'm just filling in some of the shorter ones now. I'm going to take the Alpha 63 here. This is just going to allow me to do some of the shorter feathers now. And I'll go into the standard brush here and I'll finish working up the eyes. So now, if you run into an issue where your smooth brush or your brush you're using is starting to be a bit lumpy, you can go into the stroke here and go down into modifiers, I think it is. Nope, it's in Lazy Mouse. And you want to increase the lazy smooth. And that's going to give you a much cleaner line, like that. And I'll do the same for the bottom. Step down if we have to. There we go. And then for the bit above it, I'm just going to, oops, I will grab my clay tubes and change the alpha. Just fill in the shape for the eye. There we go. Now I've probably given myself a bit too much. Oh, okay, I see what's happened there. I was trying to figure out why the shape had went all cattywampus on us. So it's because I had it's a very thin area and I didn't have back face mask on. And we've also lost pressure sensitivity again. So let's smooth some of this out. And let's grab the standard brush, make sure back face mask is on, and let's try this again. That's better. Prathash. Nah, I'm going to learn and do rigging myself, just asking. Ah, okay, cool. All right, Prathamesh, take it easy. Bye for now. And now that we've got that shape in, I can go in with my move brush and start to match that to the eye a bit better. There we go. Another issue, a little thing that I made a mistake on is how low the beak was. I was putting it way too high. I'm just going to bring that down now. And let's rotate it as well. Let's get it rotated in. Fix the issue with the, there we go, that's better. And we'll just take a little bit of extra work to fix the area that's a little bit too high up. So now we can bring our clay tubes back and I can start building up the form again. I'm also going to take the move brush, take a alpha, maybe do something like alpha 8, and then when I start pulling out the area, we should get okay, maybe not working the way I was hoping. Let's see. Okay, I will instead do dam standard, do the same thing, and just do a drag rectangle. Don't like that either. So, right, in that case, we will just go back to what we know works, and we'll go back to the clay tubes brush with a different alpha on it, maybe increase the size of the intensity here. Create the shapes that we want. I'm going to make the eyelids a little bit higher. There we go. Okay, what are we at? We're at 2 hours and 16. Okay, let's actually do some painting now, folks, before we finish up. So let's grab clay tubes. And of course, I say that just as I now have to go in and fix something that was bugging me. So let's just fix some of this here. There we go. You take very light brush now over some of these just to fill in some more of these gaps that were just bothering me a little bit. Take the dam standard, change the alpha, and lower the intensity. And that's just going to allow me to now carve out some of this area around the face, a bit more detail. Like so. There we go. Now, we'll grab the beak. We're going to subdivide that. I'm going to change that color to yellow. And we'll do a quick RGB fill object. So make sure that your RGB is turned on. The RGB intensity is set to 100. Just hit fill object. Now we can change back to the original color. The eyes, there is a bit of a color to the eyes. I do have a picture of it. Yeah, there's a bit of a grayness to them. So we've got two options. You can just paint it in if you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a kind of double whammy there. I'm going to choose the paintbrush, drag rectangle, and I'm going to choose alpha 1. I'll choose a gray color. And I'll do this first. And then I'll switch back to black. Really black. There we go. And do something like that. Maybe needs to be sharper. So we'll maybe switch to alpha 14. Try again. There we go. It's just the focal shift. So we'll just play around with that. Do a little bit of color to the beak. We'll take slightly darker color here and just start to paint that in. Grab the original yellow and just kind of lightly blend that over. And I think for the beak as well, what we will do, actually, you know what? The beak's got a bit more of a lighter color on it as well near the end. So let's put that in too. And then a little bit down the middle as well. Just some variation in the tone of the yellows that they've got. And we're going to go with that white and do fill object for the body. I'm just going to move that down there because that's an old version. So let's do fill object. And now we've got these kind of brownier, like brownie kind of elements to it. The face has also got a little bit of a light brown as well. So we're going to do a lot of variation here. Again, just painting this in. I'm not. One of the reasons I love Zbrush so much is the immediacy to which you can quickly paint something up. No layers, nothing like that. If you make a mistake, great, fair enough. You make a mistake, you edit that mistake, you paint over it. I'm just going to switch my color here, something a bit dark red. Just bring that into the eyes. The other thing I've noticed as well, some of the close-up photos, is that the eyes do have a bit of a pinky rim around them, which is quite cool. So you can add that in. Like so. And then we'll just switch back to the brown. And we can start bringing some of these elements in. And there's all sorts of, I love it because there's all sorts of colors in these creatures. You know, you get bits of green and just elements like this into the feathers. Just switch that up. So I'm going to do that and then do that. There we go. We can have a bit of a darker color now. And then we can take the light one again and just start to gently put that through. So that's the thing. I mean, even white creatures, even white animals and fur and stuff, they're never white, you know. It would stand out too much. The color of these creatures will be very, very specific to their. You know what? I'm not a fan of the eyes. The eyes are bugging me. I want to make them black again, I think. So I'm going to, but not completely. I'm just going to lower the intensity and fill it with, there we go. It's really subtle. And already I prefer that. And then I'm going to switch back over to the brown. And with the RGB intensity up, we're going to switch over and really outline some of the parts here. Really low res, but it's okay. And then for the larger objects, we're just going to take another alpha. Let's just add a bit of variation into the, and we're going to make sure our RGB is at 100 and we want a nice solid. So sometimes you can turn off the tablet so that you've got a nice solid color. And we're going to darken it down a bit as well. Not that much though. Let's see. Grab that, copy it. There we go. That's what we wanted. So we're going to do we're not going to do this symmetrically. We're just going to do it as we feel. Again, I don't have my tablet on, so I'm not using pressure sensitivity here. I'm just kind of dabbing this to create the effect I need. And thin them out as well, but to be honest, I'm actually okay with a thicker look to it, but we can always go back to the white color to then go in and clean up some of the other parts. We can switch over to the dark color, the darker variation, and just go over them again. This time though, I might turn on my tablet so that I can get a bit of variation in it. There we go, that's better. So that we're not totally just creating a really monochromatic look. We want some kind of variation. And then same as we have on the inside, what we'll do is we'll take something like this alpha here, and we can use that for overlaying the rest of the colors. And this is how we can hide some of our crimes. Probably one of the lowest resolution ones we've done on the stream, but I think it works. I think it's working quite well. Again, you know, do it from a slight distance, it totally works. Another thing as well is while you're doing this, you could of course use Z-add if you wanted to add some actual weight and height to this. There would be nothing wrong with that. Oh, I don't know what happened there. There we go. I think that was while ZBrush was saving it when it decided to go, you don't need pressure sensitivity. Who needs that? There we go. So we can now go in and maybe do a bit more work here. There we go. Into T-pose mesh. And we will do what we always like to do here. We'll do a bit of a pose. Actually do a proper, let's see if we can make sure we don't, oops, that's better. Okay. Let's try this again. So if he's sitting like that, and we want his head up a wee bit, and then just rotate. There we go. We'll really soften that transition. We'll try that again. That's nicer. That's a nicer transition for him. So now, we'll go to T-pose sub-T. There we go. Now, obviously, like I said, I have to go back and I have to fix the rest of the body and stuff. That's fine. But what I was talking about in regards to the tree here, let's take this kind of greeny, kind of grey color that's there. So we'll just take something like that and we'll do a fill object on it. I think fill object. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. There we go. Fill object. So we'll do that, and then I will add a bit of warmth into it with a lower intensity. There we go. But if I wanted to add this kind of moss on top of it, I would give myself the color that I wanted. But you know what? We're going to do a little bit more brown into that first. There we go. And if we go back to the green, if I turn on Z-add, go to my spray stroke, and choose something like the Alpha 8, as long as I've got RGB on it 100%, as I sculpt the moss onto the tree, it's going to give us some of the detail as well. It's just going to bump up that moss the way we need it to. Okay. And obviously you can darken that and continue in doing some more, build it up, and change the alpha. So let's say we wanted something like alpha 15, and that's really going to bump up some of it, like so. Okay. Now the feet are a kind of browny color, so I'm just going to do them as well. We're just going to get those filled. So first of all, we will do the talons. The talons are going to be black. Yeah, still black. There we go. And fill object, invert, and then we'll do the legs, something like this. There we go. And what I will also do as well, just to fill the body color in for the time being, I'm going to take my spray stroke, Alpha 62, and I'm going to grab this brown, and hopefully, he says, hopefully, there we go. Yeah. So now I can start to fill in the rest of the color. And I'll maybe do a little bit as well on the head, because I quite like the effect that that spray stroke's giving me. Now, obviously, at the moment, the bird's looking too brown, so we're not got as much white on it, but that's okay. We can go back with a slightly different alpha, and we can start bringing back some of the white. So we'll pull the white out, and this time I'm going to go into my alpha. And if you remember, I blurred my alpha before. Well, I'm going to just sharpen that up a bit, make it a bit larger, and change the stroke to drag rectangle. And if I wanted to, I could go through and do it like this, but I don't think I like that. So we're going to do the color spray technique again. And this way, I can reintroduce some white into the feathers. And all we're left behind with is, we can also put the focus up so that we get a sharper look, but I kind of prefer to have it lower. And then we end up with something like that. And that off RGB. So I'm just trying something here, folks. I quite like that, actually. That intensity up. Okay, folks, we might even be able to finish off some of the fur now, the feathers now even. It might be a bit too thin, actually. It might be a bit too thin. So let's see, what else can we do with our alpha? Well, we'll try alpha. We'll change the alpha to alpha 6. Do 1. Not bad, but no, it's not where I want it to be. So I am going to continue doing the same technique that we did before, where I can start to really build up a lot of intensity on the wings now. Like so. Smoothing as I go. And I will continue to do that later on. And let me just do the damn standard here. Just want to fix the wings here. There we go. This stuff is actually okay. It works quite well for the shorter parts at the top. And there we go. How long have we got, folks? We've got 20 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do, because I don't want to leave this kind of unfinished. So we're going to use alpha 15. I'm going to change my stroke type to clay tubes, to dot, and I'm just going to turn off the... No, I don't like that alpha. It's just not doing it for me. All right, let's try this one. Weird. Why am I not getting any... Reset the brush. There we go. Don't know what happened there, folks. Just wasn't getting any... Oops, do not want to unify. That would not be a good idea. We'll take our alpha brush again. We'll blur it. And we'll just use the same technique as we did before. And I can also go into the stroke here, and if you remember the lazy mouse, I can put the lazy smooth up, and if I turn off lazy the which one is it? This one, the lazy radius. That will create smoother strokes for me. You can tell I'm kind of focusing now, folks, because I've actually stopped talking. Hey, Tom, how's it going? You have joined us very close to the end. It's going okay. Been a bit of a rocky one, but the heat has been difficult. It got a lot hotter than I expected. Um, I don't think I'm as far along or at the kind of quality I would have liked, but um, it's getting there. I'm just going to use now the really low dam standard to start bringing some of the smaller elements of this together. Start to add a few more finer strokes. Oh, not like that though. That looks terrible. Actually, let's change that up. Let's go back to clay tubes and switch this out. And we'll just try and blend everything together. Let's just put the texture back on now. And back to the paintbrush. So we need a bit more white, I think. We need to get some more. Actually, let's see. What happens if I do that? No, it's not enough. It needs to be hand painted. So back to alpha 1, drag dot stroke or dot stroke. looking good to me. Lovely shapes. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to do a bit of a back and forth here as I paint up the wings. So all we're now doing is just trying to kind of accentuate some of the markings. I'm going to actually take in a bit of pure white now and start running that through. Because I think that might be, I think it's a contrast issue as well. So I'm going to start pushing that through a bit. Yeah, that's better. A little bit. Okay, folks, I think we can call it more or less there. He says as he continues to tweak and just sketch away. Just try to get that little bit of contrast in. And then back to the, there we go. I think the beak is bothering me a little bit. I want to try and get that color looking a bit more saturated. So we'll that's better. All right. Okay, folks, I think we are now done. Let's just call that finished today. All right, folks. Well, once again, it's been really fantastic having you all here. Thank you all for coming along and watching as we worked our way through this Ural Owl sculpt and a little bit of paint as well. Please do remember that if you want to find out a little bit more about what Firestorm Studios does, you can follow the links below below this window. And the one to really follow there is our Discord. So please do come along, join the Discord, chat to like-minded folks, and you might even get a chance to chat to some of the Firestorm team members in the voice chat. So I am now slightly delirious from the heat, so I am now going to finish up. But I will be back on Friday at the same time, and we're going to be moving on to the letter V. That's either going to be a porpoise or a strange little worm. We'll just need to see what the Discord vote says. But please do remember as well, we have Paige streaming on Thursday, and we have Andre streaming on Friday as well. All right, folks. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all again on Friday. Bye for now.